What's going on, fish? Welcome back to your favorite pond, the Coy Pond, episode 62. Just
Woohoo!
got done with Super Wildcard Weekend, and we will be talking all about it and all about what's coming up this weekend. Don't forget, you can find us mainly on YouTube, also Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, or Amazon Podcast, whatever the hell that's called. And don't forget to leave us a question on SpeakPipe. And to be completely honest, if any of you follow Barstool, they do a Gruden Shred segment where people just call in and basically scream about their team. If you want to call in and just scream about your team, frankly, I think that'd be just as entertaining. So leave us a message of some sort on there. Link in the description. You know where to find all of it, as always. But, and as of course, I am joined by my co-host K-Dog with our signature hat, a very nice visor.
Good morning out there in football land. Good
Yes,
morning.
Yes, and like I said, just got done with Super Wildcard Weekend, and boy, were there some stinkers.
There really were.
That was rough to watch. Most games.
Nothing really turned out to be very interesting at all.
Saturday was a pretty good idea of what was to come on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
Which is a bit disappointing. I heard about that a little bit from people saying, get rid of the 7th seed. They've only won once in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Have it what you will be. This year was not the year for the Super Wildcard to be all that super.
It was not. And there were some moments, early in these games where they looked like they might be something.
Yep.
But they all faded rather rapidly.
It did not take long for these games to get, just not entertaining.
Yeah, exactly
to be completely
right.
honest. And just to kind of gloss over them, no better way to do it.
Yep.
Herbert. I was red hot, as a lot of you would assume. Some of you know. Fuck Rex Ryan. I'm just going to say that out of the gate. That fat fuck isn't getting a goddamn job head coaching anywhere, so he can just shut his mouth up. I was pretty hot after the quotes he was saying that the Chargers had a cakewalk. They had a bye week. As I said on this podcast, I'll eat my words, was confident in the Chargers. They had been doing well. I did not account for Disley having a 14-point swing himself based off of drop balls and then also the bobbled interception that went for a pick six.
Mm-hmm.
Lad McConkey did everything in his power. Of course, one ball went right through his hands. A little high. I'm not going to debate specifics because as an entire team, that was a terrible game.
Still could have caught it, but
still could have caught it, but also high. However you want to say it, he still had 197 yards, set a rookie record, I believe.
He did. That's amazing.
It really is.
The ball that Herbert hit him on the deep touchdown,
yeah,
was just truly a thing of beauty.
It was, and that game is what it is. Dicker the kicker bats a ball down when it's still live. They take it back for 2 because that's how the point after works. It's still a live ball. Overall, I'm not going to get into it too much. Terrible performance from the Chargers. Texans, hey, kudos to you. That was
where you been?
A hell of a showing.
Right.
I can't believe you decided to show up then, but if there was a time to do it, it was then. And I know we've had a couple Texans fans commenting on the podcast for here and there over the last month, so I'm sure I'll get it in the comments. But kudos to you. Stroud did enough. That defense was locked down.
Yep.
I think did they have 2 pick sixes?
I think it was just one.
Just one pick six. Nevertheless, that defense was buzzing. Stingley had an amazing game. He had 2 interceptions himself. I can't say anything other than happy. If there's a team that's going to go all the way, I would not be mad if it was the Texans.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Right.
I said what I said last week. I stand by it, but also that defense just put them away.
Yeah.
Couldn't get Dobbins or Gus Edwards going. I think that was a factor. But you get down early,
Huge.
You can't run the ball. You can't play your game.
And it really to me just seemed like the play calling wasn't really helping anything. It just seemed like it was like run in the middle.
Yeah.
It looked like the Cowboys fucking playbook. It was just predictable.
It was.
Herbert drop back, throw a ball. Where's the dink and dunk? Where's the kind of the extension of the running game? I just didn't see a lot of creativity there. It was so vanilla.
Yeah.
And the Texans just gobbled it up.
Yeah, Joe Alt did not have a great day. Rashawn Slater had an amazing day. The rest of the line did not.
Yeah.
Herbert was pressured 18 times, including the throw against his body for another interception. Just a rough showing. It was a mix of everything. Yeah. I can't even really be that mad. In the moment, of course, red hot, yelling Phillip Rivers part 2.0. I don't believe that at all. Just like Harbaugh quoted today, Big Cat saying, if you're selling Herbert stock, I'm buying it. Of course, being 0-2 in the playoffs is atrocious. There's no point in that. There's no other way to say it. That is a piss poor, especially when you should have beat the Jaguars and you were favored against the Texans. You know, the books are the books. AFC South might own him. That might be a stat you see down the road that's just Herbert's demise. I still think he's an amazing quarterback. I don't care what Emmanuel Acho, played for the Eagles for a year and then got cut, says. I don't care what Nick Wright says. He has the beak of maybe a bald eagle and a small gremlin combined. It is what it is. People are going to say what they're going to say. He'll be fine. Again, this season was so much better than was predicted.
Yeah.
This season was supposed to be a throwaway, a rebuild. They made the playoffs and got the 5th seed. In perspective, can't be that mad. Even though it was excruciating to watch, at least it was a bloodbath.
It was a massive, successful season for the Chargers.
As a whole.
Hands down.
Yeah.
And that is step one, as it has been everywhere Harbaugh's gone, to turn it around. To make the playoffs was a huge accomplishment.
Of course. And, you know, Quentin Johnston still dropped. He didn't have any yards. He had a few dropped catches. Can't say I'm surprised, disappointed for sure. Disley didn't have one of his great games. I've seen him be better. He wasn't better. It is what it is. They were 5-12 last year.
And I don't know that I've seen the Texans play a more complete, from start to end game.
Yes.
In a long time.
It was impressive. You know what? Kudos to the Texans. That's that game.
Yep.
I've said my piece, I think. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Russell Wilson. Who knows what happens there? Baltimore took care of them for the most part just fine. You know, it definitely seemed like the Ravens didn't put up as many points as I would have expected, to be completely honest. I think they only won by 14, so the 10.5 almost covered.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's also a divisional game.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens to the Steelers in the offseason.
Called the blowout, but missed the over.
Yes.
On the picks there.
Broncos at Bills. That went about as I expected. The Bills.
You called that perfectly.
The Bills routed the Broncos.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a rookie quarterback. Denver. Not Denver. Bo Nix still had a pretty good game, honestly, for all things considered.
And then we find out he was playing with fractures or something like that.
Tear and fractures. I can't remember. There was a few different people like that. But impressive.
Yeah, and once again, Marvin Mims, the guy that's come on big time with these receiving, does it on special teams.
Yeah. So
he had a great punty down at the 1.
Yep.
He had another special teams play, I think. But those guys, I mean, again, look out next year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a rebuild's putting it lightly, how the Broncos are doing right now.
And yet, once again, just like C.J. Stroud, just like Lamar Jackson, and just like Josh Allen, the commonality is the running quarterback.
Yeah.
All those quarterbacks, you know, didn't hesitate when they had to get a first down or get a play to take off and run. So that's the commonality in these teams.
Yep. Green Bay at Eagles, you know, Eagles took care of business. They look like a tough team. They lost, I can't remember his name on defense. That's a big hit. But Green Bay was just
Dean.
Dean. Green Bay was just an injured team as a whole.
Yep.
Very unfortunate. Jordan Love didn't help at all. Josh Jacobs was the one that got the touchdown in that game.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? I mean, Jordan Love's performance is about on par for Herbert in the sense that they both play terrible.
And I actually called this one right. So I called this one with Hurts 26-10, and it was 22-10, and said take the under. So we got both things on that one right.
Yep. And, you know, Commanders, Buccaneers wasn't quite as high scoring as I would have liked it to be. Still an amazing game.
It was good.
Jaden Daniels, rookie quarterback, gets his first win in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield misses it. Yeah, it was a great game. It was a fun game to watch. It was close. It came down to that last play, the field goal.
Yep.
And, you know, kudos to him. On to the next.
Doink in, right?
Yeah, the doink in.
But again, you know, Jaden Daniels, running quarterback. There it is again.
Yep.
And he did it. Every time they needed a play, he ran. You know, Baker just wasn't quite as sharp in the game.
Yep.
Had that one play. And again, on this one, to your point at the beginning, I thought Tampa Bay was going to win that by 4. I thought it was going to be 70 points, and neither one of those hit.
Yep. Monday night, we had Minnesota at L.A. That was over by the end of the first quarter. I think the Rams ended up getting at least 8 sacks. That starting defensive line for the Rams has come together, and Sam Darnold has pumpkined back into his presumed self, which is a damn shame because he probably costs himself at least $20 million a year, maybe $10 million a year with how this season ended.
Probably still going to get a nice a new contract from somebody out of this. But
he'll get picked up by someone. He's still. I mean, if you're a Vikings fan, you still went 14-4.
Yeah,
and you only lost to 2 teams twice.
And,
so,
and man, if you're the Rams right now,
you're flying high.
The Eagles should be careful with what they've got coming up, because the Rams are awfully damn good. The play calling is excellent. Mm-hmm. The execution is excellent. The defense has found their groove, like you just said, and they got a kicker. So they got the whole thing going right now, and they look like one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team, in my opinion, going into the postseason.
I would completely agree. An absolute ass-kicking. But those were the games of Super Wildcard Weekend, and we have our first January award. And I had some fun with this. We have no idea what this award signifies. It might just be pivotal moments each week as a collective in the NFL. So the Jesus Christ is January award I would like to present to all of the losing quarterbacks of Super Wildcard Weekend, because particularly 3, all right? Steelers fans, calm your jets. Buccaneers fans, calm your jets. I don't mean Baker and Russell. I'm talking Herbert, Darnold, and Love, for not only stinking, but stinking historically as a group of 3. Combined, they had 2 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That 3 quarterbacks.
Ouch.
Herbert had 4 of the interceptions. Jordan Love didn't have a single passing touchdown. And you can make every excuse for him. But boy, if you're going to stink historically, and we congratulate you for that.
Hey.
Welcome to January, Jesus Christ.
Good on you. Nice job done, right?
Yeah, I mean, good heavens. I still don't know what this award means. It was just fucking hilarious to me. I mean, it was not the birth of him either, I can tell you that. I mean, this was the crucifixion. I cannot believe how bad some of the quarterbacks did this weekend.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I mean, this is postseason football, and I mean, as a Chargers fan, I have to watch that.
Yeah. It left something to be desired for sure.
Yeah, you know what? And I don't have to watch them lose till September. We got some time before that happens again.
See?
Unless they lose the draft. That'll suck.
It's all hopeful again now, right?
Yeah.
All hopeful again.
Yep.
Running back, incoming. That's what I would say.
Yep.
Probably be the number 1 pick they have.
That or fucking get some new O-line, honestly.
That too.
Trey Pipkins, man. It's a shame some of the offensive linemen on the Chargers, because I love them, but God, they suck. And you know what? That's all I'm going to say about that. Don't need to bore the rest of the population with it. We also had one Vikings fan in particular commenting on our videos the last couple of weeks about things in general, and I feel bad for him. But you know what? Resident Texans fan, hey, congrats to you. I know I think we had him comment on a few. Can't remember the name off the top of my head. Congratulations to you. We'll get into those games right now, actually. Houston at Kansas City.
Oh, boy.
Saturday at 4:30. Texans' favorite spot to play in the playoffs. They've consecutively played in the afternoon slot on the first day for several years out of the ones they've made since they've joined the NFL. Chiefs are favored currently, when we're recording this video, by 8.5, over under 41.5.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a defensive battle. It's outside in Arrowhead. CJ Stroud typically plays a lot better at home in the dome than he does outside. I have to assume, solely based off it being Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes, that any sort of doubts we have about their offensive abilities will be settled on Saturday.
Yes.
The Texans did an amazing job with the Chargers.
Yes.
You can argue offensively who they are as an identity this year. They've had plenty of moments where they've looked amazing, and they had plenty of moments where they looked terrible. Nevertheless, the Texans handled them.
Yes.
Now, it's going to be cold in Kansas City. It's outside. Chiefs,
very nipply, for sure.
Looking for a, Super Bowl three-peat, first time ever.
Hard to do.
This will be interesting.
Hard to do.
Chiefs this year have looked not amazing on offense. They've won their one-possession games and went 15-1, 14-2. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. I have no idea how this game goes in my head, other than I think it will be a defensive battle. I have convinced myself the Texans will be able to get plenty of stops. Chiefs will be getting plenty of stops. I think the Chiefs might just score a little bit more.
Right.
Mixon didn't get going last week. until after half at the end of the third into the fourth quarter.
Right.
One of those drives, he single-handedly got 60 yards. Obviously, they were crushing the Chargers at this point, but he only had 100 yards in that game.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get him going.
Yes.
Now, given the last time they met, Tank Dell got hospital balled, to say the least, and that derailed the Texans offensively for the rest of the game.
True.
You know, that has an effect on the team as a whole. I'm not ruling the Texans out. I just, based off how these teams do, the Chiefs are going to turn into Patriots in Super Bowl mode.
Yep.
I see Travis Kelce having a great game.
Yep.
I see Marquise Brown having a good game. You know, they've stacked up the wide receiver position where there was doubts between DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Brown, even Juju Smith. That I think they'll be able to figure this out.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced. And if they don't have bulletin board material from old Rex Ryan telling the Chiefs they have a additional bye week,
Right.
I'm guessing the Chiefs win this. Now, personally, I might sprinkle the plus 8.5. I could see the Chiefs winning by 7. But I think in a hard-fought defensive battle where the Chiefs offensively have not looked amazing and the Texans just got done, played an amazing game against the Chargers,
Yep.
I can't imagine it going past 7 personally.
Yeah. I just think it's going to be tough for Houston. They played such a great game last week that you're going on the road, you're playing Kansas City, the team that turns it on when they have to.
Right.
And I think it's just going to force some mistakes with the Texans. Just the environment, just the whole elements, the weather. I see Kansas City winning this one 27-17.
I could see that.
So I'm going to say over because it's 41.5.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that they actually cover the 8.5 points. So and win by 10.
Win by 10.
Yeah.
What? 21-17.
27-17.
27-17.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
So I think Kansas City pretty well handles them here.
All right. Teach their own. Should be a great game to watch.
It will be.
It's the Texans in that early afternoon slot that scare me.
And that's a great slot.
Well, now I've got slotted. You know what I mean? I had to witness that.
Damn it.
Nevertheless, Saturday night, number 6 seed versus number 1 Washington at Detroit.
Yep.
Washington's done it. They've sent a message, and now they're going up to Motor City Dan Campbell to try and spread the word of DC.
Yeah.
Personally, well, actually, let me do this first.
Sure.
Detroit minus 9.5 favored. And then OU, fucking, my brain's rotted. Over-under is 55.5.
Yep.
Montgomery will be back. Gibbs back. I would assume because of those reasons, they'll be able to control the time of possession once more.
Yeah.
Gibbs, during the Vikings game, got hit pretty hard. Had 3 touchdowns, plus a receiving touchdown, I think, at the beginning of the game.
They pissed him off and they hit him.
Yeah.
I thought he was out, and it came back like he was Superman.
Yeah. Baker struggled late against the Saints. I can't remember specifically if he had a tough game against the Commanders defense, but, the score nevertheless was 23-20. Washington on the road, usually playing outside, going to the Lions.
Yeah.
Dome team. Those ticket prices are hard to get a hold of when they're starting at $600 each.
5 last I looked. Maybe it's gone up now.
I think you're right.
I thought about running up there, actually, just for the hell of it. I took a look. I'm like,
Hell
what
no.
in the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But because of that, it's going to be a lot of pumped up Lions fans looking for revenge of that NFC championship last year. I personally don't think Washington will be able to keep up offensively with the Lions. They rested. Any sort of doubts about players being unhealthy will be well rested now and ready to go for this first game at the very least.
Yeah.
And also, the Lions played extremely well on defense against the Vikings. And if we're going to give the same love to the Rams destroying Sam Darnold, can't you also, by comparison, give that same love to the Lions for maybe figuring out some stuff on the defense?
Yeah. Sure.
So, because of that, I really think that 9.5 might be a lot, but also, these games have not been close.
Yeah.
Over under 55.5 assumes this game ends like 35 to 28, or maybe a little, maybe 20, 24. But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't figure it out. Jane Daniels was hot with Zach Ertz, finding him often. What are your thoughts?
Terry McLaurin? Yeah. I think that Washington is built to play the Lions well.
Oh.
And what do I mean by that? I think that the Commanders defensive line is very stout. They're going to be able to stop or slow down the run.
Right.
Jaden Daniels, there's something about a guy that doesn't know better. So Jaden Daniels doesn't know better.
Ignorance is bliss.
He doesn't know to be worried, right?
Right.
So he's just doing what he does. What told me that about him was last week when that kick bounced off for them to win and goes in.
Yeah.
And he just had such a real reaction to that. Like, he wasn't like, yeah, he was just like, you know. So he just plays his game.
Right.
And again, they have great receivers. They've got a pretty solid defense.
Yeah.
Watch out for number 11, I think it's Jeremy Chin for the Commanders.
Yes.
He's going to have a big play in this game. And I still think Detroit wins, but I think the Commanders give them more than they expect.
I agree with that.
Because they have the horses to do it, I think. So I'm picking Detroit 31-27.
I like that.
So 4 points, 4-point win for Detroit,
Yeah.
and I'm going with the over.
I'd agree with that. I like Washington to cover. I mean, they got Dynami Brown working in that game last week.
Yeah.
Didn't use Scary Terry nearly as much. Zach Ertz, I think, caught a touchdown.
He did.
And at the last few weeks, they have been using him more than I would have expected to. It's almost like he forgot he had him at the tight end.
He really did.
Not to mention Eckler's healthier, so they were using him last week.
Yeah, I mean, I think and we're going to get to the Baltimore-Buffalo game,
yeah.
But I think outside of that, this could be a really good game.
I completely agree.
I actually think this divisional weekend will be the opposite of Super Wildcard weekend.
I could see that.
All those games sucked. I think only one of these
Possibly.
might suck, but I think all four of them are going to be good.
I could see it 100%, and that leads us right into Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, Rams at Philadelphia. So we've got that.
No, go ahead. Might be the one I'm most excited about.
I agree. You have that defensive line, the starting four for the Rams going up against an incredible Eagles offense.
Yes.
That battle alone will be incredible to watch. Not to mention, is it Jalen Verse? Who's Verse on the defense?
Yeah, Jared Verse.
Jared Verse,
yeah.
That's what it is.
Guy's a beast. Number 8 for the Rams.
You probably saw it on the broadcast, Whitworth talking about him running his mouth, but you could actually see in that game him yelling at Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
He's a demon.
He's something else. That was a hell. I mean,
it looks intimidating.
You want to talk about Aaron Donald leaving, and oh my gosh, how do you replace him? They may have done it.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah, and the guy again, he has got a knack for plays, and he's only just figuring that out. He's getting better every week.
It's crazy, and Lord knows with Hurts recently having the concussion problem or getting injured with the concussion.
And again,
if they get to him a few times,
everybody's saying, what's wrong with the Eagles? Why aren't they hitting why isn't Hurts hitting the receivers? So there's just this wonkiness. They've got a great defense.
It's a feeling in the air.
But there's a wonkiness right now in the offense. And now you kind of say, well, let's take Saquon out of the game.
Right.
And if you focus on him, if you can, the guy is a supernatural freak.
Without a doubt.
But if you can focus on slowing him down, that's really how their offense has been operating lately.
This becomes way more one-dimensional, though.
It does.
And, I think last time Eagles-Rams played, Saquon had like a career game against them.
Yeah.
But that was a different time.
It was.
The Rams are hot. It feels like defensively they figured it out. If I'm picking Stafford or Jalen Hurts right now, I'm going Stafford. If I'm picking Sean McVay or Nick Sirianni, I'm going Sean McVay.
Sorry, I think the Eagles have been the better team, which he's benefited from.
Right.
Sean McVay has done the better job of
with
less. There it is.
For years.
Yep.
I mean, since that Super Bowl, or up until that Super Bowl, then on past it, however you want to word it, he's done more with less. And they're a tricky team. I wouldn't be surprised if they had some crazy plays drawn up.
Yep. And honorable mention, Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, done a hell of a job lately.
He has. I mean, looking maybe more like Don Shula
down
the road.
Yes.
Who knows? I don't know prediction-wise for over-under. I'll let you read yours off first.
Yeah, I'm calling for the upset here.
I like that.
I think the Rams have the right. The receivers are so damn tough, and they've got 3 tight ends they can go to.
Yeah, the 2 of them scored.
And Stafford just looks really, really solid right now. He is playing so confidently with that offense.
Yeah.
And the way they're calling the game for him. And I forget the offensive coordinator, but I know the Packers are trying to get him. I think it's the head coach's brother or something.
Oh, shoot.
The Packers head coach.
Yeah. LaFleur. Anyway, I can't remember.
LaFleur. That's it. Matt LaFleur, I think. But I don't know if he's related or not, but anyway, Sean McVay would not let him go,
No.
and there's a good reason for that because he's a hell of an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and just look at the matchups too.
Yeah.
Just head coach, quarterback, lines, down how they finished the season.
Yep. So I'm saying Rams 27-24.
Okay.
So I'm going with the under, and the Rams win by 3.
27-24.
27-24.
Hey,
Rams.
that puts you in the over.
Puts it in the over, doesn't it? Well, that's some new math I had there.
Hey, I got you.
Thank you.
I'm just making sure we're
No,
on the same
thank you
page.
very much.
But I agree. I take Rams plus 6.5, alt that to 7, just so you have that covered. But I think this game's gonna be a little bit close for comfort, especially when you just got done playing who they just get done playing. Am I an idiot? Green Bay, who was injured.
Oh yeah.
I think that's gonna be a much different showing from going from Green Bay to the Rams, personally.
Yeah, and
Two
again,
very different teams.
only beating the Green Bay by 12, so
that didn't feel like it should have been.
Yeah.
Given situations, it felt like that should have been at least 14.
Yeah, so that gives you a little indication there to me. The Rams are way hotter than the Packers.
Completely agree. And that leads us to the final game of divisional weekend.
The Granddaddy, which is why it's Sunday at 6:30.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Everyone can watch this. No one has to be asleep by the end of this game.
Nope.
Baltimore at Buffalo. Baltimore favored by 1 now, at over under 51.5. This is going to be incredible. The last time they played, Bills-Ravens at Baltimore. Ravens won 31-10, but the Bills were a little injured on defense at the time.
True.
It's looking like, as of the time of this recording, the Ravens may be without Zay Flowers.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if that's the biggest, I'm confident Lamar will be able to figure it out without Zay Flowers.
And he loves the tight ends, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews so well.
Yep.
And they're great because the thing about Lamar is when he's throwing the ball, he always throws high.
Yep.
So you got those two tall dudes that give him a couple extra,
little reach
this way. So I don't know.
It's going to be incredible. I would assume Bateman's going to have a big game again if Zay Flowers is out. And honestly, if Zay Flowers is in, Bateman probably still has even a greater game because they've got to cover Zay Flowers then.
Yeah. And don't overlook Justice Hill because he finds his way out of that backfield, and when they spell Derrick Henry, he's got a talent to be a starter on about any other team, really.
And they use him beautifully because if Derrick Henry goes out, he's throwing the ball more than likely.
Yeah.
And no pun intended. But it's going to be a screen pass or a dump pass to Hill, and he has the ability to turn upfield and burn and just go down.
Yeah.
The Ravens have done a little differently with their, rushing offense as of late in the second half of the season. And I don't know if the Bills, I said at the beginning of the playoffs, Bills' defense has looked a little suspect throughout the season to where they've given up points where I would not expect them to give up points.
Yeah.
Whether that was because they're winning or not, who knows?
Yep.
So I think this is going to be a pretty heavy offensive battle between the two.
Yep.
Over-under's 51.5. Man, and Baltimore's favored. It's in Buffalo. I'm struggling to figure out which way I want to go with this.
Yeah. No, and I'll flip probably 5 times before we get to the game.
I completely agree.
But I'm tending to go with Vegas right now. I'm tending to go with the 31-30 Baltimore. Definitely the over, like you said. And I could just as easily say James Cook's going to have a big game. Derrick Henry going to have a big game.
Yep.
Obviously the quarterbacks are both going to run a bunch.
Yep.
Have big games. It's just going to come down to who lucks into having the ball last in this thing.
I know. I've been going back and forth so much because you think of it, the Bills were playing a hot Broncos.
Yeah.
Handled them comfortably.
Yep, annihilated them.
Yeah, Ravens were playing kind of like a ticky-tacky Steelers as of the last 3 weeks at NFL, and they beat them by only a little bit. But that was a divisional game. Those scores almost mean different numbers to me in my head when I hear that they're playing within division.
You're figuring those are going to be tighter.
Yeah.
So only winning by 14 is still a big margin of victory because it is a division game.
Right. It's almost like you can add 7 to that.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, that's more what I expected. I don't know. I mean, Russell Wilson still had a great game against the Ravens.
Really did.
I looked back thinking I was going to see terrible numbers to add to the Jesus Christ is January award.
He wasn't there, was he?
It wasn't that bad.
And he almost, at one point you just had this feeling like, could they pull this out?
It was like the second half.
Couple
of the
deep
fourth
balls
quarter.
that he had there.
He got the one to George Pickens, I think, and that's kind of what gave a little momentum.
And I kind of thought, God, maybe they're going to come back on this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Never happened, but
just because I am who I am. I'm going to take Bills to win. And quite frankly, I'm going to give them the old 27-24 win against the Ravens.
Okay.
They misses the over-under by half a point because that's how it always ends up.
You're right.
And, I think it's going to get... I don't know. It feels like this year it's been the Bills. Ravens, as of late, got hot, as they should. Lamar's an amazing player. Derrick Henry's an amazing player. I'm just going to go with the old, you win one, you lose one type of thing. I can't decide. I wouldn't make a pick if I wasn't doing a podcast.
Yeah. Well, and the thing here is...
Not gambling advice.
Both of these teams have struggled to get over the hump, right?
Yes.
They both have that in common.
In the playoffs.
So somebody here is getting over the hump. At least the divisional hump.
And to be honest, it's going to be such bullshit, whatever you hear on the media about which one of these teams lost and how it's derailing the organization and if their window is closing.
Yep, that's exactly what's coming next.
And frankly, this should be, and that should be, I think we'd all like if this was the AFC Championship game.
Right.
And that's just not how the decks cards fell this year.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, but it should be great football early.
It's going to be a hell of a game, that's for sure.
I'm torn. I really am.
Yep.
Did you give your pick? Am I losing my mind?
So Baltimore 31-30.
That's right.
Yep. I'm going with the over, and Baltimore I'm going with Vegas, so 1 point.
Yeah.
And you said 27-24 Bills.
27-24 Bills.
Gotcha.
What? Anything else you want to talk about?
Guess the last thing I'd like to touch on is
Let's go.
coaching vacancy.
Oh, yeah, the Cowboys coaching vacancy?
So, so if you've been a listener, you've heard me talk about the potential of Deion Sanders, And
I'll be loud if we get that right.
Oh, my God.
Last summer.
And it does not look likely. It looks like, for all intents and purposes, again, like I told Colin the other day, only Jerry Jones would. He's had this McCarthy thing cooking for, a week, and only Jerry Jones would wait until 10 minutes before Robert Kraft is going to have his press conference to announce Mike Vrabel as the new head coach of the New England Patriots to upstage as these two billionaires continue to have their squabble. Robert Kraft taking issue that Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame and he's not.
Oh, yeah.
And Jerry just putting the middle finger up at Robert Kraft by announcing the Mike McCarthy's not coming back 10 minutes before his press conference.
Yep.
The coverage all went Cowboys.
Yep.
I don't even think Vrabel and the Patriots was a footnote at that for about an hour after that.
I wasn't aware it even happened.
And, then what does Jerry do in the afternoon? Well, he lets it slip out that before a Monday Night Football game, he lets it out that he's had a conversation with Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
And so, again, brilliant, ridiculous marketing, because now what do they do on Monday night? The pregame, during the game, after the game, and it's Troy Aikman, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
They talk about Jerry Jones, Deion Sanders, and the Cowboys. And they probably have no intention whatsoever. It's a long shot that Deion coaches the Cowboys. But what we did subsequently find out is he was in negotiations with the Colorado Buffaloes, for a new deal. Well, guess what? Negotiations are going quite well.
Yeah.
So Deion wins. Jerry gets his team and his face plastered all over the media in prime time.
Oh, yeah.
Upstaging Robert Kraft in the same swift motion.
Yep.
And, they're both happy as you could be. I'm sure they were laughing on the phone.
I would imagine.
They'd had a call and laughed and said, let's get all the
media.
Let's get all the we can get out of this right now. I'm sure they did that on purpose. Because he could have announced that 5 hours before, 5 hours later, Sunday, Tuesday, whenever.
The
but
timing was not coincidence.
Not coincidental. And I'm sure Robert Kraft is in New England just like, motherfucker.
He's got to be pissed.
So, good job on you, Jerry. Now, let's get an actual coach that can help us win. Whoever you think that is. But let's get somebody decent for the love of God.
Anything.
Let's not step backwards. McCarthy at least did get us lots of wins during the time.
Yep.
He didn't get us over the hump of to a championship game or a divisional playoff game.
Yeah.
But come on, take your time now and be smart about this crap. So
I can't wait for it to be announced that Jerry Jones is hired himself as the head coach.
The odds makers probably have that one a lot higher than you would really think, but
they might, honestly.
Yeah,
we'll have to see.
So
don't worry, there will be plenty of Cowboys coverage come this offseason as we need to start thinking about what this offseason looks like podcast-wise.
And all the other teams that have head coaching vacancies, plenty to talk about there. And, with the college football playoffs going on, it was a great time to start scouting for the NFL draft, which I began doing that from watching some of these games.
It's a thing of beauty.
Lots of great talent out there, so certainly things to come.
For sure. And as always, if you made it this far through the video, you're one of our best listeners, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hats off to whoever joined the NFL ESPN League that we're doing the bracket challenge for. I think we got 7 people. Not too shabby. If you missed out, you should stay to the end of the video more. On top of that, leave us comments on subjects you want us to cover through the offseason as we start to think about that. Because quite frankly, in the offseason, if there's not much NFL news, sometimes the podcast runs shorter. We can always cover stocks. We can always cover off NFL stuff, even though this is a mainly NFL podcast, as anybody knows.
Right.
We like to cover all that shit, too, and maybe we'll do that more.
Yeah.
Maybe not a current news type of show, but, we can start venturing out as we want.
Maybe have some more guest people on with us, too.
Yes, that's
Perhaps.
something we should figure out at some point as well.
Lots of options.
But, nevertheless...
Divisional playoff weekend coming up.
Yep, divisional playoff weekend. Hope everyone has a great week. If you gamble, do it responsibly. If you don't, you're a step ahead of me. And we will see you all next week for championship football. Everyone have a great week, and we'll talk to you later.
Peace.